Hi there. Is eating at Sindhu on P&O better than an M&S Indian takeaway? Want to know more? Watch on. Hi, I'm Mama Jane's husband and this is
Mama Jane.
And we're recently been on Iona and on Arcadia and eaten at the Sindhu restaurants on both of them. And we've got mixed views about how well they did. So in this video, we are going to compare both Sindhu restaurants with an M&S takeaway. So watch on and find out what we both think. Isn't that right?
So this is the box, and in this box we have chicken korma, chicken tikka masala, what's this called? Bombay aloo, potatoes I think, naan bread, onion bhajis and pilau rice, and the instructions, and it should all be done within 25-30 minutes.
And I'm looking forward to it. So, M&S takeaway curry. I thought it was fabaroni. I really enjoyed it, and I always do. And you can't beat it for under a tenner. It can be even cheaper if you get it on a yellow sticker. Now, Mama Jane, what did you think of it?
I think it's exceedingly good value. I think because the tenner is for two. It's very, very good. It's very easy to do. If you first of all you think, oh, this is complicated, but calm down and read it carefully. It's not at all complicated. The timings and everything, because it doesn't all just chuck in together. Having said it doesn't chuck in together, we did just stick it all on a plate together, so we didn't try and be posh, did we?
We could have put the onion bhaji and the samosas as the starters.
We could have put the the naan bread
separately,
and it would have all looked nicer, but we didn't, because.
But it's all ending up in the same place, isn't it?
That's not the point, dear. Carry on.
So we really enjoyed it, and I didn't have to do anything. But Mama Jane here had to slave
over the cooker for half an hour
and do it. Yeah.
And do it. So there's that. You've got to take that into account. That it's all right. It's a £5 each, but somebody's got to do the cooking and the clearing away.
And the clearing away. Was I just turned up? So that's like a reference point, okay? So then we went on P&O, been on a fair number of times now, and we've experienced Sindhu on 3 occasions, and we're going to talk about our experience in Arcadia first. Now, Arcadia, how did you enjoy Arcadia, Mama Jane?
Well, I enjoyed it. I thought the food was nice. I thought the staff were. Can I just point out? It says free starters, free appetizers. Nothing's free. It's just not got a price on the menu, but of course it's worked in. So don't be fooled by that. I'm sure you're not. What was it? Oh yeah. So the staff. How can I say they were too attentive? They were nice and kind and lovely. Well, it was so over the top that we didn't stop for pudding. No. That is bad, because himself always wants pudding. Well, so do I. But it just got, just get out of here. And that's a shame, because the food was nice, the decor was nice, the whole thing was nice, and the staff were nice. And if you like fussy staff, that's the place for you.
So, well, I thought the Arcadia wasn't an event. You thought it was an event, didn't you?
It was an event in that I didn't have to think about what we were having. I didn't have to cook it. I didn't have to dish it up. So yes, that's always an event for me. Yeah.
Whereas I thought the Arcadia restaurant, the Sindhu and Arcadia, was very much an afterthought, and it was sort of tucked away, and it just didn't feel very nice. We were up against a divider, a movable divider, and there just wasn't an ambience. I didn't get it. I did not get the vibes. And then
You didn't feel the love.
I did not feel the love. And we had nice starters. I had this vegetarian samosas, and you had, it was some sort of...
Something with a name that I can't pronounce.
It was Gashot Murtar, which was a something like that. Anyway, and it was a flatbread with ground beef and some sauces on it that you had, weren't it?
Oh, nice, yeah.
And it was nice. Starter was okay, and we both had the signature dishes for our main course, and mine was cold. And I know what everybody's going to say is you should have sent it back, but you know, sometimes when I send food back, Mama Jane here scowls at me, so I didn't. I suffered. I took one on the chin. But the food, for me, the quality of the food for the signature dish was no better than for M&S.
No, that.
And that's true, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
So I was and the staff, well, they were just
In your face.
in your face all the time.
Yeah.
I think they were really inexperienced. I think they were really inexperienced staff, and they were out of their depth in a speciality restaurant. So I didn't get the vibes, and in fact I was so fed up, didn't stop for pudding. Now, if we had stopped for pudding and look at the average price that we could have paid for it, we'd have ended up paying about £45 for the privilege of this speciality. Between us, yeah, 20 odd quid each, which is a lot more than what we paid for M&S, and it wasn't 4 times the experience in my view. So Sindhu and Arcadia, for me, a failure. And what about you? Well, what do you rate it?
I'd rate it because I didn't have to make it, cook it, clean up, and I was.
So I would give it 3 out of 10.
Oh no, I'd give it 7 or an 8.
No.
Yeah, I would.
Never.
Yeah.
Goodness me. See, I have to put up with.
Which just shows that, you know, you cannot listen to what, well, I hope you're listening to what we're saying, but you have got to make your own decisions about food, because it is so, what's that word when it's like? Subjective.
Cold is cold though.
Yeah, well, cold is cold.
Cold is
and
cold.
You should have ignored me scowling, and anyway, that's for domestic later, but it's very subjective, is food, because what I love, you know, somebody else might think this is disgusting. So, yeah.
So that was Arcadia, and really, I thought it was disappointing. And then Azura. Now, Azura, how did you enjoy Azura?
Very much.
Did you?
Yes.
Do you think that was a big event?
Yes, that was a lovely event.
It was.
They warned you when you got there that it would take 2 to 2.5 hours, and it did, because it's so leisurely and the place is beautiful. The staff are attentive, but not overly attentive. It was just an absolute lovely experience, and really the food was almost secondary to the experience.
Food can never be secondary for me in a restaurant. I'll have to say that. Now, I had the same starter as I had in Arcadia, the vegetarian samosa, and it was lovely. I think it was nicer actually, as I remember it. I remembered it as really something special in Azura. Well, I don't remember that in Arcadia. And you said that's something else that was unpronounceable, but was really lovely,
delicious.
Wasn't it? Yeah. And then for the main courses, we had the signature dish. So for you, that was exactly the same, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And for me, I had the vegetarian signature dish, and I really enjoyed that. Food was hot. You could see the food coming direct from the kitchen to us. It was really lovely, and But again, I would say the quality of that food, even though it was hot, was actually no better than an M&S takeaway. I don't know what you feel about that.
No, I agree with that. It was you were not paying for the food, you're paying for the loveliness and the way it was served, and not just all lobbed on a plate together.
Yeah. So this is where subjectivity comes in again, because the food's the most important thing for me. Was you were looking at the overall loveliness, weren't you? Of the experience.
The whole experience.
Yeah.
And if the food's good as well, that's a real bonus. And it was good, don't get me wrong, it was good, but it was no better than, the things that you can buy. I don't mean, there's some of the things you can't buy in Marks and Spencer's, but the things that you can, the curry type things.
The quality. Wasn't any better.
No.
So that was it. Now I have to say the quality of the restaurant ambience and the staff was much, much better. It looked like a purpose-built and designed restaurant on Azura, not an adapted broom cabinet like it did in Arcadia. So that would be my difference. And then we both had the same, we had pudding, so it was much better because I stopped for pudding. And we both had a dark chocolate sphere, which is not very Indian actually, is it? Would you say? No. And that was really good. We really enjoyed that as well. And so better marks, I would say, for Azura. I would give it, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. How would you give it?
Good 8.
You'd give it a good 8, would you? Now, top tip that we discovered when we were on Azura is that, that twice, we were there for 14 days, and twice, once each week, they had a curry night in the buffet, and the food was fantastic. The food quality was much better than it was in Sindhu, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
But as I've said, to me, half the loveliness of a meal is that I don't have to think about it, I don't have to cook it, I don't have to serve it, I just turn up and I am waited upon. Now, for himself, it's slightly different because generally speaking, he is waited on every day. Ooh. But it's the truth. So the thing for me is, it's already good, and then it can be excellent. But the curry night, it was just, they were lovely.
Excellent.
They were absolutely
So next time
excellent.
we're on a curry night, you sit down and I will get whatever you want. I will serve you, my dear. Okay? I won't put my little penny on. But So there's that to point out, but also just point out that both on Arcadia and on Azura, I had an Indian dish while in the main dining room, which were also, the quality of the food was better than in Sindhu. They were fabulous, and so top tip: the food, have a curry in the main dining room because. It's really, in my experience, been really good. And go to
the curry night. And
do both.
And the funny thing was, the curry night was on, the dressing up night.
Yeah.
But the people we sort of got friendly with, they said, look, we know it's a formal evening, but we're actually going to the buffet because we love curry. Yeah. And so we said, well, come on then, what's wrong with going to the buffet in your posh frock? And Dickie Bow, and we did, and it was just such a lovely.
We enjoyed it, really.
We did, yeah.
So that's Arcadia and Azura. Big difference. Same marketing and same menu, but much better on Azura than Arcadia. Now Iona, Sindhu on Iona, is a different beast altogether. For one thing, it's got a different menu.
Yes.
And a very different menu, I would say, and a different type of Indian style and cuisine, from my perspective.
Having said it's a different menu, when we'd been on Iona first, then we were on Arcadia, and we were discussing this with this highly attentive young man, and he looked a little confused. And in fact, you had to show him the menu.
I had to prove it to him.
Because he said, but no, it's the same. And we said, no, it's not the same. It's nothing like. And he seemed, whether Iona is the same as Arcadia or whether Arcadia is the same as I really don't know. But certainly, he seemed to think it was going to be, didn't he?
Yeah. But it wasn't on Azura.
No, it wasn't. No.
So the menu is different on Iona. And how did you enjoy it?
It was lovely. It was not so much on the curry side, it was other things. Because we always presume, don't we, Indian means curry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. So no, it was lovely.
There was, again, the way the restaurant was decorated, the ambience, Faberuni, better than on Azura, clear purpose built, and I really quite liked the ambience. Again, the staff were nice. The only thing I would say is on Iona, you're next to a curtain, and you can see through the curtain, people can see inside. So that did slightly take the shade off a bit for me, but I still enjoyed the ambience and everything. And the food, was Faberuni and was an elevated level of Indian. Yeah. Now, you won't get this sort of Indian food in an Indian restaurant in the UK. I've never experienced it, and I've lived and breathed Indian food, and I've been fortunate to live in parts of the country in the UK which have a lot of Indian restaurants. So I think I know my Indian food, and it's a very elevated type of.
It wasn't a curry house.
It was not curry house food at all, and it was very elevated, and the quality of the food was exceptional, I think. And we both had starters. You had a flatbread again for your starter. I had a pancake. In fact, we mixed and matched quite a bit for the starter, and that was lovely. And then you had beef, I think, didn't you?
Yeah,
for,
it was
for the
some
main.
kind of beef. Very not beef curry.
No.
It was lovely.
In fact, I think it was beef fillet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the various
But
sauces
done in
and
different
everything.
sauces
Yeah.
and things.
I had duck, and duck can be a tricky bird to cook, but this duck was very nice indeed. And again, you had a very un-Indian pudding, didn't you, Mama Jane?
It was called a bread and butter pudding.
Yeah.
But it was not what we think of,
As
obviously,
bread and butter
as a
pudding.
bread and butter pudding. It was absolutely gorgeous.
And I had chocolate pudding. There's no surprise there. And interestingly, this was the cheapest of all the meals.
Yeah, it was.
Which is interesting. It just came to £39.50. So, in my view, I'd give the Sindhu on Iona a solid 9 out of 10. And if it hadn't been for being next to the window with a net curtain and everybody able to look in and me able to look out, it might well have got a 9.5. So that's pretty good. What about you?
Oh, 9.5 at least.
At least 9.5. Yeah. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't mind the net.
So there you go. You know, you think of a speciality restaurant, and you're going to have a very consistent level of performance as a brand, because P&O are trying to make a brand out of Sindhu, aren't they? Well, the brand consistency is very poor, both in terms of the restaurant ambience, the quality of the waiters that are serving, and actually the food quality, and even the menu's different. So P&O have got a lot of work to do on that. But again, just spend a bit of time researching where you're going to go, and perhaps ask other people who've been to Sindhu on the same cruise as you. For instance, Arcadia might have got their act together by now, and it's a whole lot better. But you cannot get away from the fact that I don't think they're in a space that's designed to be an Indian restaurant, and you can't get away from that really. So I would say that Arcadia is always going to have a bit of a fault, whereas Azura and Iona seem to be planned spaces for a restaurant, and the ambience and quality of staff was better. The only place where I think we got better food in Sindhu than an M&S quality food was on Iona. Well, you agree with me on that.
I agree with the quality of the food, but I am not paying £39.50 on Iona. I'm not paying that to get £39.50 better food than the M&S. I'm paying £39.50 to get the event. Yeah. And that, I will always say that. And when people say, what's the food like on a cruise generally, on most ships, I would always say, look, if I haven't had to cook it, and I haven't had to think, what shall we have? It's already 90% good. So, you don't have to get much better to be excellent. And I think sometimes, So we do have a domestic about this.
Yeah. So the top tip, look out for curry nights in the buffet.
Yeah.
And also look out for curry dishes in the main dining room, because you might get better food and better curry than actually going to Sindhu itself. So there you go. Plenty for you to think about and discuss.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Oh, that's good for you, Mama Jane.
Yeah.
Now the other thing is, please, we know most of you who watch this don't subscribe, and it would be a really, really big help with how we work on YouTube and how the YouTube stats work. If you could subscribe and like this video, that would be a massive help to us. So it's a goodbye from
me,
and it's a goodbye from
him.
So goodbye.